All right. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mashur Chaudhry, and I am the manager of recruitment and sales for the Chang School. And this is the Lean Six Sigma Greenbelt information session. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the land on which Toronto Metropolitan University is built upon. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. I thank the Indigenous people of Turtle Island for their efforts to protect the land, and I deeply regret the past injustices they have endured. As Toronto Metropolitan University seeks to move forward in partnership with Indigenous people, I pledge to foster an environment that is more inclusive and welcoming of Indigenous people from all communities. Now, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's session. Your microphone is muted throughout the event so as not to disturb other attendees or the presenters. For the hearing impaired, we have automated captioning available, which you can access by activating it on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And you can submit questions for our speakers at any time by typing them into the question box of your control panel. We'll collect them throughout the session and address them at the end of the presentation. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers and presenters for today. First, we have Rosa Save, Program Specialist at the Chang School, Marla Mazer, Program Manager of Continuing Education at the Chang School, and then we have Anil Gupta, who is our Curriculum Committee member and also a course developer here at the Chang School. Now, before we do our quick presentation overview of the certificate, I wanted to do a poll with our attendees here just to see what the temperature of the room is like. So here's our poll. What motivated you to consider this certificate? The answers are career advancement, career change, skill building for your current role, personal interest, and other. And then we have a second question, which is what is your current level of familiarity with our certificate? And you can choose between high, moderate, or low. So thank you so much for attending again and for taking part in our poll. Um, this really helps provide feedback to our team and also to our panelists that are attending here today. Okay, so I'm going to leave that on for just a couple of more seconds for everybody to put in their answers, and then we can get started. Oh, and I also see that Mohsin has joined. Thank you so much for joining, Mohsin. Mohsin is also one of our one of our course developers and curriculum committee member. All right, here we go. I'm going to share the results from the poll. It looks like career advancement and career change are the top reasons why people are considering the certificate and also skill building for current role. And about 67% of the people have basic awareness of the field, and the rest have minimal or no prior knowledge, which is totally fine because that's what we're going to be discussing. Okay, so now I'll welcome in Rosa to go over a quick overview of the certificate. Welcome, Rosa.
Thank you. All right. So what we'll be covering today, first off, we'll talk about the delivery style and format of the program, as well as the time commitment. We will also share who this program is for, who did we design it for. We'll also talk about the main learning outcomes, what you will be able to do at the end of the courses and program, how you will be able to apply what you've learned. And then we will also give you logistical details on the admissions, how to apply for the program, what are the next steps. And then we will share some of the supports and resources that we have at the Chang School to help you along with your learning journey while you're not only enrolled at in the program, but also beyond. And just some immediate next steps that you can take to enroll in the program. So the Lean Six Sigma Green Belt Postgraduate Certificate Program is fully online, and it includes weekly live synchronous sessions through Zoom. And this is an estimated 5 to 8 hour commitment per week, but of course can vary throughout the weeks depending on the content of that week and also the learner. But this is just approximately how much time commitment you can potentially expect to give. The program is also designed to be very practical, applicable, and project-based so that you're able to apply what you learn to real-world scenarios and problems. The program contains 4 courses, and the time to completion is approximately 1 to 1.5 years, but of course it's flexible. It's at your own pace, so you can take the courses whenever it fits for your schedule, whenever they are available. And in terms of the investment, the cost is $3,900 to $4,200, but we do also have bursaries available for our learners to apply to. So who did we design this program for? This program is for early to mid-career professionals who would like to strengthen and validate their current continuous improvement experience. Anyone who wants to lead projects with more confidence, and people who may need Lean Six Sigma Green Belt specific knowledge and skills, the frameworks, to help them work more effectively within their organizations and improve processes. And anybody who's seeking access to job opportunities in the continuous improvement space. And this program is actually very relevant to professionals who are working in an operations area, project management, quality, supply chain, healthcare, manufacturing, technology, government, and service-based organizations. So as you can see, this is very applicable across many different sectors and industries. Now, what will you learn after you've completed this certificate, and what will you be able to do once you've completed this certificate? First thing is making work more efficient. So simplifying processes, reducing wasted time and effort, and helping work and operations to run more smoothly. You'll be able to solve problems step by step. Specifically in this program, you will be focusing on the define, measure, analyze, improve, and control framework. And this will help you to clearly define what the problem is, what's the cause, and you'll be able to test out solutions to solve the problem and make improvements that will last for the future. You will also learn how to fix the cause, not just address the symptoms. So you will learn practical tools and data to understand why do the problems keep happening, where the changes will have the greatest impact, and how to do those changes. And finally, you'll be able to deliver results that matter. So improving the quality of maybe a service or an operation, saving time, reducing costs, and creating better experiences for employees and the customers that they're serving. So how do we apply for this program? The admission criteria is an undergraduate degree from an accredited post-secondary institution or a combination of equivalent education, professional designation or certification, and professional experience. In terms of the steps for the application, you would need to prepare an updated resume with your most recent and relevant experience in education. You complete an application form on the Chang School website, which is continuing.torontomu.ca. And in there, you will upload your resume to the application, submit it, and then you should be receiving a follow-up from our school within 48 business hours, except for holidays, of course. Now, in terms of the other supports, services, and resources that we have at the school, we do have the academic and career advising team. So they are specialists who can help support resume writing, practicing interviews, coaching, helping you with job search, and industry trend insights to advance your continuous improvement career. We also have industry connections, so peer community events and other networking opportunities as they come throughout the school. You would have access to these things. With this program, you will take away a Lean Six Sigma toolkit, essentially, with all of the learning outcomes and skills that you would gain. And these will allow you to have the resources that you can apply to improvement projects throughout your career. You will also have full access to other TMU resources such as the TMU library, digital learning tools, and any other learner privileges across campus. And in terms of financial support for the program, you have access to bursaries, scholarships, and there are some other financial aid options to help support your studies. So in terms of immediate next steps, what you can do, you can either connect for one-on-one academic or career advising. They can help provide some additional information and support on your career and learning pathway, or you can apply. So you can apply by, again, visiting our Chang School website, enroll in the program, and you can also connect with Mashroor directly via email should you have any further questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rosa, for sharing that quick overview. It's very helpful for our learners to go through that. So thanks again. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Anil Gupta, Curriculum Committee member and course developer. He is the cornerstone of the certificate with 25 plus years of experience in over 75 different organizations all over the world. He helps organizations enhance performance by guiding teams into strategic planning and cultural alignment. And he also teaches at University of Toronto and McMaster. Welcome, Anil.
Thank you. Thank you, Mashroor. So hello, everybody, and thank you once again for joining this webinar. I'd like to spend just a few minutes and tell you first a brief, quick introduction to myself, and then I want to talk a little bit about the course, add a little bit to what Rosa has already told us, and also tell you a little bit about the journey of this course itself as we've developed this course over the last 2 years. So my name, of course, is Anil. I'm a Lean Six Sigma practitioner. I'm a certified Master Black Belt, and I've been doing this work for about 26 years now. During this time, I've had the opportunity to work in over 75 different organizations in a whole variety of different industries, from manufacturing companies in large scale, high volume manufacturing, to very small mom and pop design build organizations, to service organizations in banks and financial institutions, hospitals and doctors' offices, in aviation, aerospace, software, all 3 levels of government, church groups, and not-for-profit organizations, and of course in universities. I've been teaching Lean and Six Sigma for close to 20 years now, including a couple of different universities. So the reason why I tell you all of this is because Lean and Six Sigma as a body of knowledge, as a toolkit, as a methodology, is applicable to any organization anywhere and any function within the organization as well. In fact, one can think of Lean and Six Sigma as really a system of management. How do we run the organization? How do we manage everyday work? How do we continuously improve? And how do we link the operation to both the strategy as well as to how we engage our teams to deliver the goods and services that the organization produces for its customers? So it really is a very, very practical and a very hands-on methodology that'll help you irrespective of whether you are in a continuous improvement role or want to move into a continuous improvement role, or you're simply a manager or a leader at any level in the organization. Okay. I've been associated with this program since its inception about 2.5 years ago. And I, along with Mohsin, who's also here today with us, we've been leading the development of the material and the delivery of the very first cohort that is currently underway at the university. When we started to develop this program about 2.5 years ago, we were we did a couple of things early on. First off, we ensured that we understood what the needs of the industry were. As things have progressed in the industry, Lean Six Sigma has been around for about 50 years, but today's business environment does require for organizations to be in a very different place. And so we understood needs of organizations and what is practically required by leaders and managers in the organization. We also updated our toolkit to what is today known in the Lean and Six Sigma Lean Six Sigma world. And so our curriculum really does reflect a more updated version of the system. And the third thing that as we designed this course, we wanted to ensure that all of our learners go away not only with the theory, but also with enough practical experience of actually applying this, both in a conceptual or a fictitious example, a case study, but also in a real life case study. And it is for this reason that we were able to design this course to be not just a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt course, but a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification course. I believe that this is the first and only Green Belt, Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification course in Canada. We launched the program last year, and our first cohort has gone through the first 3 of the 4 courses and is now preparing to go into its 4th and final course, which is a capstone project course. And it is at the end of that they will learn their certification. Early feedback has been very, very positive. Our learners have found the course to be a good pace of content, not too heavy, and enough to keep them engaged. Our live sessions, 1.5 hours every week, allows them to share, ask questions, share their own experiences, and work together in their cohort. And also their feedback has been that it has been a very practical and real life oriented course. Many of them have talked about how they've integrated some of these tools and concepts, not only into projects that they've done in their workplace, but also into their everyday managerial work. So there is that huge benefit as well to that. So there's a little bit about myself and about the course. I'll hand it back over to Masroor. And of course, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I love that. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself, but also about the methodology that went into the course and the certificate, right? It's really good for our learners to know that. Finally, I'm delighted to introduce Mohsin Khan, Director of Cyber Advisory for the Office of Cyber Advisory at the City of Toronto. Mohsin is a distinguished Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and project management leader who brings extensive subject matter expertise into our certificate, and he's also a curriculum committee member and a course developer. Welcome, Mohsin.
Thank you so much, Masroor, and thank you so much, Anil, for the great breakdown of the course. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Mohsin Khan, Director of Cyber Advisory. Similar to Anil, I'll talk a little bit about myself and my journey with Lean Six Sigma, and then we'll talk about how this has been reflected in the course. Um, I went to TMU many years ago, studying industrial engineering. And over my course of my career, I've had the chance to work in North America, Europe, and Southeast Asia in a variety of industries and fields, whether that's in logistics, agriculture, telecom, more tech-based, and now in public service, where today I manage a team that supports the cyber resilience of the City of Toronto, as well as its agency and corporation partners, all kind of built around Lean Six Sigma, which is around how can I solve problems in a more framework approach, find the root causes, come up with solutions, have a toolkit that has been replicated many, many times successfully, and work with the organization on the change management standpoint. Similar to Anil, I worked on this course with him around that premise of design, which is Lean Six Sigma has traditionally always been a manufacturing side program. But over the last 30, 40 years, it has moved towards service. So it's being utilized in every industry, whether that's in retail, banking, pharmaceutical, public service, technology based. And that's what we're trying to frame in this course. So we heavily focus on use cases. We heavily look at other industries because if you can solve a problem in, let's say, a pharmaceutical lab, you can also solve a problem in a retail space or in a university space. And you can see how there's universal truths on problem solving, especially around waste management, process improvement, efficiencies, but also where the nuance can be and how we went from a manufacturing standpoint to now looking at what data do we have on IT service tickets? How do we make sure that we have precision when it comes to pharmaceutical tools? All the way to what I do today, which is how do I make sure my processes are improved enough for my end users, which should be City of Toronto employees, could be external stakeholders. So trying to work that out from that aspect. Anil had mentioned when we were designing this course, we've framed it into 4 areas. The first one is heavily looking at the introduction of Six Sigma. So that's the foundational aspect from a statistical perspective. Then it goes into the advanced Six Sigma. Then it goes into lean thinking, and then finally accumulates into a capstone project, which is where we will challenge you to take the end-to-end learnings and actually apply it to a real life scenario. Each one of these courses is designed on this premise of you're the consultant, you're the C-suite. How do you go and implement? How do you go get buy-in? How do you go and work with people and make it more practical with the tools, the templates, and the business cases so it's something you can apply right away? We also fundamentally designed this course to be a lot more practical in a sense of it's great to learn theory, but being able to apply it in different capacities in different industries and being able to benchmark allows you to be able to traverse, learn, and we really advocate people to maintain a journal throughout their journey. So as you learn new tools, new techniques, and you progress over the 4 courses, you can then make it relate back to your day-to-day life. And that becomes the foundation of learning that 5 years down the road when you're doing this, you've gone in more advanced certification, you're now in the field, you can look back to this journal and say, okay, this is what I did, these are what the slides looked like, this is what the presentation looked like, these were the tools, the techniques, and foundationally you become part of our cohort of change makers, people who are out in industry, whether non-for-profit or for-profit, trying to do something good, trying to help people, and that's the foundational piece that we try to build in. The last thing I just want to highlight is the feedback that we've gotten. So Anil mentioned that we've gone through the first cohort. We've got great feedback in terms of practicality, examples, and just the experiences of people being that consultant in 30 minutes, being able to formulate a problem or formulate a tool or technique and present it. So we are teaching hard skills. We're also teaching soft skills, And the foundational piece is that you walk out confident and you can go to the boardroom, you can go to your leadership and talk about how can you bring an idea forward to improve. So with that, I'll turn it back to Mashur, but happy to talk about my experiences or answer any questions that do come up down the road.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Mohsin, for sharing your experience, and your journey to Lean Six, and then also a little bit about the certificate. I really like what you mentioned about the progression from the courses into the capstone, and how that practicality is involved. Because efficiency is the name of the game with Lean Six, right? And the fact that there's real world implementation that you can actually do, and you're challenging our learners to do that. I think that's very valuable for them to take away once they complete the certificate. All right. So, well, with that, that ends our presentation portion with our panelists. Now we'll open it up for the floor to give us any questions that they have. Couple of questions that have come in already, so we can get started with that. But the first one is a question that we did receive before as well. So yeah, maybe both of you can touch on that a little bit. Is how well is the Lean Six Sigma certification recognized by employers in Canada? So yeah, maybe Anil, you can start with that, and then Mohsin, you can chime in as well.
Sure. So thank you for that question. Really good one. Lean Six Sigma certification, I think, is very, very well recognized across the industry. Leaders across manufacturing and operations, but also in service, transactional. Today, Lean Six Sigma certification, I think, is recognized even in hospital administrators and public service and so on. So extensively recognized. The one challenge with Lean Six Sigma certification in the industry is that certification is given out not by one body of one institution. Unlike, for instance, project management, where you have a project management institute, they're the only ones that give you a PMP, a project management professional certification. Lean Six Sigma certification is given by your trainer, by your coach, by your master black belt. And so it can actually be given by an organization or by somebody else who's been teaching. So a number of different ways of getting it. We are the only university that is certifying Lean Six Sigma. So that is really what sets this program apart.
And Anil, maybe just kind of top up a little bit from this aspect. The value proposition for Lean Six Sigma is how do you bring more value with current resources? So it's very applicable in current economic standards, and it's always a value add for any organization. As Anil mentioned, it is heavily recognized. There is the multiple levels, so there's the green belt, there's the black belt and master black belt iterations, but all are heavily recognized and supported. And a lot of feedback that we've gotten from current cohort are people who've been supported by their organization to take it because of that consideration on leadership and value. And then I also echo Anil's point around TMU and Change School's ability to back this with industry, standards, industry professionals, experts to develop this and to have a more formulaic approach gives a lot of value and a lot of stand-in to the certificate, right? And it's a continuation of how do you, improve your skill sets, educate, and a university is a great way to be that resource, especially as well recognized as TMU is across.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that perspective from the both of you. Next one is what level of Excel or data analysis knowledge should student have beforehand? So before they come in, is there any level of Excel or data analysis knowledge that should be required?
So the course has been, maybe I'll take a first stab at this, Mohsin, feel free to jump in. The course has been designed for all learners, okay? while we cover quite a number of statistics and data analysis tools, we use only Excel throughout the course, and very little to no Excel prior knowledge or base is required. So we really do start from a very basic level. And no worries about that. No worries about needing any additional software either. Very basic Excel is all that we use.
Yeah, and I echo that as well. We've got some great feedback from learners who may have found Excel a lot more difficult, but once you walk through the process, the real life examples, and then also the learning that we have, we put great videos together. There's a live action where we're able to showcase and walk people through, what gives them a lot of value. And the foundational piece here is between Excel and PowerPoint, you're able to go out and sell the idea to an executive and get the support of your team members. And we're trying to make that as easy and accessible as possible because we know that tools, while there's amazing tools out there, they're sometimes not always affordable or accessible across industry. So we want to make sure that we set the foundations correctly.
That's such an important point to be tool agnostic, right? Because, like you said, there's so much that's available, but creating the foundations is really important. Okay, next question is there a separate exam required to obtain the certificate? So, Anil, I know you already mentioned it in the first question that you don't really need to go to an institute or an organization to get the certificate. It is from your Master Black Belt. But yeah, if you can just clarify also if there's a separate exam.
Yeah, sure. And our program does not really have exams. We do have an evaluation criteria. However, it's very practical. There are assignments in each one of our courses, and of course, the final capstone. So all the assessment is based on practical hands-on experiences and reflections, but really no exam. Okay. We've done away with the exam. The exam is in the application and the demonstration of application of the tools and methodology.
Amazing.
I'll also maybe take the next one,
Yeah, go ahead.
which is how deep does the program actually go into DMAIC? We spend a lot of time with the methodology DMAIC and introduce basic tools of DMAIC. This is Green Belt. As Mohsen said, the next level up is Black Belt, which is a lot more focused on tools, and we go deeper into DMAIC. But we will spend a lot of time on DMAIC. 2 full courses out of the 4 are dedicated to DMAIC and introductory tools to help you through that methodology.
Brilliant. Okay, next question is about the deadline. So our client advisor, Sandra, is answering that. So please look out for that answer. And then we have a question for Mohsen. How have you been using Lean Six Principles for, I guess, the city of Toronto?
No, and that's a great question, right? So when we look at Lean Six Sigma principles, it's really around, we heavily focus on the lean side, which is how can I improve efficiency, streamline processes, and make it easier for my team members to do their job, especially around cyber. It's actually very relevant to a lot of pieces. We're always looking at how we can make the experience better. How can we make sure that we foolproof any of the processes to reduce rework? And then that can tie into any sort of technology-based industry, whether you look at ServiceNow and IT ticketing, whether you look at threat intel, assessments, all of these elements feed into Lean Six Sigma. And that's what I've done through all of my career, whether it's working at telecom or logistics. It's always been how can I drive more value, which has always been seen as a positive sign from my executive staff. And you'll be surprised when we talk about Lean Six Sigma, it's not always about, hey, we need to cut jobs or we need to make things. Sometimes it's really just focused on user experience. And if you can make the user experience better for the people involved in the process, it means that they can do a better job and they can meet the threshold that you need without being frustrated or without losing morale. So a lot of these become very practical, especially around service industries, whether you're a finance shop, a tech shop, or any sort of other industry, it becomes very relevant from that aspect.
Great answer. Thank you, Mohsen. Okay, so next question is from Golnaz. Thank you for your question. It's for ASQ Greenbelt certification. After completing, which course would you recommend applying for the exam at end of all four courses? So I know we already mentioned that there is no exam, but is there anything else we can add to this?
Sure. So I'll quickly say the ASQ. So ASQ does offer a certification. They ask you to write an exam, and they will also ask you to submit a a project brief. Keep in mind, though, they will not offer you any coaching or support, which is the difference between the ASQ Greenbelt certification versus ours. We will provide you the certification as well at the end of our four courses. But if you need the ASQ Greenbelt certification, then you would be prepared to write or take that exam at the end of the first three courses. Okay, our fourth course is focused on the project itself, and we'll coach you through that project. But the content is covered in the first three.
And I think there's someone's wondering if you can compare. I know we usually speak about our program and not really always doing comparisons, but someone's mentioning a McGill 3-day program
Yeah.
or something that's a 50-hour asynchronous programs, and how does ours compare or have an advantage being
Yeah.
1 to 1.5 years?
Right. So timing, and I will be I'll put it this way. Lean Six Sigma concepts are fairly easy and simple to understand and learn. Nothing here really very fancy or difficult to learn and understand cognitively. The challenge with Lean Six Sigma application, which is why many organizations struggle, in fact, lots of practitioners struggle with it, is in the practical application. And that is the piece that where we really stand out. We've spent a lot of time and effort and designed this course to allow you to have those interactions, to those conversation in the classroom guided by the instructors, and also to do hands-on practical exercises. Okay, that's really what sets us apart. While I'm aware of many other programs from other universities, the content you will see is pretty much the same. Lean Six Sigma's core concepts are the exact same. Our learning environment that we provide and the feedback that we got from our team from our first cohort has highlighted that for us. It was the practical examples, the hands-on experience, the conversations every week, and the bite-sized amounts that we've learned every week that really helped our learners through their learning journey.
Yeah, and Anil, I can
Yeah,
to
go
top
ahead.
up a little bit on from that aspect. An example of this is, let's say, for example, you want to look at process mapping. Process mapping can be done within 10 minutes to learn and show somebody the symbols. But once you take that a little bit step further and you say, well, you want to process map a pneumatic tube system at a hospital, and you're trying to figure out why nurses may not be using the pneumatic tube and they may get runners to move the blood around. And then you start going into a lot more detail and say, okay, well, maybe they don't trust the system. Maybe it's a learning problem. Maybe it's the staff that are in the evening shift aren't in the training. And you go into a lot more detail where courses that may be a little bit more condensed don't have the capacity to walk through all of those items. And that's kind of the important piece around practicality, because it's very easy to learn this by yourself or to take another course, but being able to actually speak and use it, that kind of becomes the key difference. So the additional time allows us to explore a lot more of that. And I usually kind of laugh to say this is still at a black belt level because of the detail that we're going to. Though it's introduction, you have that capacity to ask the questions, to go into the detail and actually show practical value, which works out really well from, a professional growth, but also from kind of a credential slash portfolio management that you can use for future employers or growth.
That's a great addition. Thank you. Thanks so much for adding that, Mohsin. So the next question is, how rigorous is the capstone, and will we have some help with that? And I know it says Anil, but yeah, maybe Anil, you can start, and then Mohsin, you can also chime in for that.
Yeah, so the capstone is an opportunity for you to apply the Lean and Six Sigma methodology and tools in a practical, real environment. We do ask that our learners identify a project that is green belt level. Okay, not too complex, not very, very challenging from a technical or change management perspective, but something that can be done within within the 3 months. Um, how many will we get some help? The very simple answer is absolutely. Every single week we have check-ins, and you will have ongoing offline support as well. So the instructors actually coach you through the project. You do work in project teams as well. So the entire class is broken down into small groups of 3 to 4, and you work with your as a cohort. So lots of help available there, and we'll help you ensure that we don't get into, choose a project that is too technically or change management wise demanding.
That's very helpful. Mohsin?
No, I was just on top up from that aspect of you with these weekly touch-ins and the weekly growth, it really becomes a lot more practical that you have, these advisors and these experts who are available. And that's also the value drive that we're trying to get to employers and people who want to use these projects, is that you have more of a hands-on approach to solving an issue in your organization or something that you face that is worthwhile, right? And we really heavily focused on we want a project that has, meaningful change that it can apply to you, but also allow you to grow and learn and, make a few mistakes here and there. But that's, I think, the practicality of being surrounded by a great team, by learners, by all the course material, is that it gives you an environment where you can learn. And that becomes extremely valuable when you're doing this project by yourself in 5 years and you go, yeah, I remember I had a difficult stakeholder in this aspect. How did Mohsin and Neil tackle this? Okay, great. That's how I'm going to approach. And you can always reach out to us after as well. But that's the foundation that we're trying to build into the capstone.
And just to dovetail from that, I know we're almost at time here, but our last question is, how much of the program is hands-on project work versus classroom theoretical learning?
I'd say roughly you can expect about half and half, right? About half of your time is spent with the course material itself, and about half the time in practical exercises and case studies and so on.
Yeah, I echo that as well. Like you can imagine, we can talk about metrics or success metrics, but then we start going into, well, what industry does that look like, right? When you're in a pharmaceutical, you're in a retail, you're in a hospital, well, how do those success metrics change? And because of that, it becomes a lot more practical, rather than just saying, okay, well, we're looking at, cycle times, right? What does that look like when in the hospital you're looking at, check-in times versus a retail space, which is, time to cash, right? Or time to cashier. So all of those tend to be a lot more practical and become a lot more cooler to see how theory changes based on the industry that you're applying to.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you to the both of you for joining us with all of your experience and your insights. Well, that's the last of our questions, and I know we're at time, so I just have one last poll that we can I'm going to launch right away that we want you to answer just to see how we did and if you want to take a course from the certificate. And I just want to say thank you to our presenters, our panelists for taking the time out of your day to attend our session. And thank you to all of you. You've taken that first step towards your interest in this certificate and attended the online session. And if you're interested in learning more about the certificate, please visit our website at continuing.torontomu.ca. And if you've any other questions, you can contact me directly at mash.chaudhry@torontomu.ca. All of the information that we shared and the recording of this session will be sent to you in a follow-up email with the survey within the next 24 to 48 hours. And on behalf of the Chang School and all of our presenters and guest speakers today, thank you for joining us and have a great rest of the day.